Good afternoon, everyone. I'll wait just a second to give people a chance to find the feed here. But if you join in, would you please let me know if you can hear me all right? Hi, Jean. Yes. So am I coming through? Can you hear my voice coming through the machine? Am I reaching it all out into Facebook? Excellent. Thank you so much. Wonderful. All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the State Archives online office hours. My name is Sarah Casper, and I'm a government records archivist for the State Archives. And today I'll be showing you how to use ArchivesSpace, which is one of our newest online research tools. As always, if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat. I'll be checking periodically to try and answer those. And of course, we've got Nicole and Matthew here, waiting in the wings to help out as well. So I'm sure if there's anything I miss, which there probably will be, they'll be able to answer those for you. So I'll start with our weekly COVID-19 documentation project reminder. We do have a project to try and document the impact of COVID-19 on South Dakotans and how we are experiencing the pandemic. And we're collecting photos, videos, writings, any sort of records that document the pandemic and the reopening of our state. So if you have anything that you think might be good to submit, um, please go to our website. We've got an online submission form that you can use. And if you want more information about the project, next week, Nicole will be back and she'll talk more about what we've been capturing with the project and why we think it's important and all of the types of things we're looking for, just more information about the project. So I think you'll all enjoy that. You'll definitely want to tune in next week to next week's office hours. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. The topic today is archive space. So let me switch over to my um, internet screen. So this is our archives homepage. Like here's the link to the COVID documentation project that I mentioned. We've also, if you missed last week and didn't hear the announcement, we do have a brand new YouTube page. All of the recordings of previous office hours are available there, and there's a link right here, as well as a virtual tour of the archives that South Dakota Public Broadcasting put together earlier a couple months ago. So you can definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. And it would be great if there were some views on there other than me. So if you've missed any other of their earlier office hours, definitely check that out. But if you want to go to ArchivesSpace, the link that you want to click is over here. It says Search Our Collections. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And this is ArchivesSpace. So ArchivesSpace is a catalog system for our archival collections. So it works like an online library catalog. It points to material that's inside the archives, but the records themselves aren't online. So it's really useful if you're planning a research visit, or just trying to see what sort of records we have that you might be interested in viewing. So that is going to be increasingly important, especially because the state archives right now, our research room is closed, but we are planning to reopen to the public in July, at least tentatively, barring anything else coming up. So, and when we open in July, we'll be open by appointment only. So you'll really want to use tools like ArchivesSpace and some of our other collection indexes to make sure that you can make the most of your appointment and your allotted time. So all new collections that we receive, as they're processed, get added into ArchivesSpace. So all of our recent donations are searchable here. The ones we are working to try and get some of our older collections added as well. That's a long process. And it's certainly not finished yet. There's a lot of material available on here, but if you find that you're just not searching for something and it's just not coming up, that doesn't mean we don't have it. So definitely send us an email at the ArcRef account, arcref@state.sd.us. I'm sure we'll put that in the comments at some point. Um, yeah, and we can definitely let you know if we have any other records that aren't available in or that aren't don't have descriptions in ArchivesSpace. So, ArchivesSpace. So this top menu here um, allows you to browse through our collections in a bunch of different ways. So you can look through our subject headings. You can look at names of people and places and try and find collections that have been tagged with those particular names. You can look at just all of the digital objects that that we're managing. Now, these digital objects, they're not things that are available online, or at least not necessarily. Most of them are just digital records and content that we're managing and preserving for the future. So they're available in our research room, but not necessarily online. So again, it's another sort of planning your research visit sort of thing and not direct links to online content. Now, the Collections and Accessions tab, um, it helps a little bit if you know more about how we organize archival materials to be able to really browse using those tabs. So when we receive material, all of the material from a single donor that's donated at one time is kept together and in an accession. Now, that donor, it could be a private individual, it could be an organization, it could be a government agency even. But anything that we receive today on June 3rd, 2020, from a particular individual makes up an accession. And all accessions are added into ArchivesSpace. So if you click under this tab, you can browse through all of the manuscript accessions or the non-government accessions that we have that have been added into ArchivesSpace. Now, because so many government records, we get sort of yearly transfers from the same offices and agencies over and over and over again. And so for those records, to try and make them a little more easy to use and accessible, we group them together in record groups. And you can search through those or browse through those on the Collections tab here. So you'll see that like the Department of Agriculture is a record group. Aurora County is a record group. The city governments, like the city of Huron, is its own record group. And so if you click into these entries, then you can browse all of the records that we have for that particular agency. So you can browse through government stuff using the collections and manuscript non-government stuff using accessions. Now, if you can't remember that, or you're not sure if the materials you want are in a government collection or a manuscript collection, which is often how it is when you're doing research, you're in luck. The search bar searches everything. Let me see if I can. Yeah. Yes. So the search bar searches everything. It'll search subject headings, it will search names, it will search manuscript accessions, and even the folder lists that we have under the government collections. So all you have to do is type in your search term. So for instance, I'll search for Huron. Let's see here. And you can see we've got City of Huron records. There's some mentions in the Abner collection. And then we've got some manuscript collections as well related to Huron. In fact, we've got 402 results for the Huron, which might be a little bit too much, or it might be a little overwhelming to go through all on your own. So there are some options over here to help you filter the results and find things more relevant to your research topic. So you can narrow it down by year if you're interested in that. You can click on specific subject headings and it will pull up just the entries that have that subject heading tagged or that person. In this case, what I'm really interested in is state fair records. So I'm going to type in or search within the results for state fair. Now I want to put them in quotation marks like this so it searches for it as a phrase. If I didn't do that, then it would just search for every entry that we have that contains the word state and every entry that we have that includes the word fair, and it would just like put even more information up here. So state fair and quotation marks will bring up just that specific phrase. Yes, so you can see, here we go. We've got a few manuscript, again, some manuscript collections. As you go scroll further down, you can see there's the subject heading, South Dakota State Fair. So you could click that and see everything that was tagged with that particular subject heading. You can see that the State Fair office has an entire section in the Department of Agriculture record group. So you could click on that for more information about that office and the records that we have. And then you can also see that we've got individual folders that have State Fair in their descriptions or in the title. And so those might also be really interesting for your research. And so you can click on those to get more information about those records. Let me go back here. Now, so let's go into a manuscript record and check this out. So, and just in case there are any questions about this, there's a glitch in the system that marks all manuscript records as unprocessed. They are, in fact, processed. If they weren't processed, they would not be on ArchivesSpace. It's an issue in ArchivesSpace that we're trying to correct, but it's pretty deep in the code, and so it might be a while before we can get it fixed. But just know that everything in ArchivesSpace is, in fact, processed, so you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, so for manuscript collections, we'll have the title here. You see the box location number. This will be really useful for when you're putting together the list of records that you want to, when you're planning your research visit and you're creating a list of the records that you want to view. The identifier number, this is unique to each accession that we have. And so, again, that's a great way, one, in your citations, it's really important, but also when you're planning your research visit, that's something you want to write down and keep track of because it will help us make sure that you get the materials that you actually want to look at. Then there's a description of the collection. In this case, it includes one small image booklet titled Souvenir of the Fair City Huron, South Dakota. And then it talks about some of the images that are included in the booklet and just gives you more information. We've got dates. If there were any restrictions on the collection, it would say here. And it gives the extent of the collection. So in this case, 0.1 cubic feet. We already know it's one small image booklet. It's not a lot of material. Again, that helps you budget your time. If you know that it's only a folder of material, it will be much easier to look through, much faster to look through than if it was a collection that had 20 cubic feet or 20 boxes of material. So it's, yeah, good information to have. Now, if we government stuff, let's see, let's click into the City of Huron records. So again, in the record group, you can see we've got a scope and content note. That's just a description of the types of records that we have for this particular record group, the date range and the extent. You can see that for the City of Huron, we actually have almost 23 cubic feet of records, which is quite a bit if you wanted to go through the entire thing. You can see all the subject headings that have been assigned to the top level of this, and more information about processing if you open that up. But what's most useful to me personally over here is the collection organization section. Now this is kind of like an expandable tree that shows the entire collection. So you can see that we've got all of the offices listed here that we have records for the City of Huron. And say if we wanted to see more from the auditor's office, we click this little arrow to expand, and it shows all the record series that we have. So if I was interested in press releases from Huron in like really early on, this would be an excellent resource for me. The subject file section actually has a more detailed container list. So there are 4 boxes of subject files, and if you expand these out, you can see that there's actually folder titles listed here, and that gives you a really good idea of what's in the collection, more so than sort of the generic subject files heading might give you. Now, if you click on one of these, it brings up more information. It'll tell you about the record series, and date range and extent of the entire series. And again, if you want to request these materials, all this information in this top section is what you need to record. So you can see that it's got the box number, so we can find the materials for you back in our storage. There's a unique identifier number for the materials. And you can even see here all the different levels that this record's is within. So we know that it's Huron, auditor records, subject files, box 2. And all of that just helps us pull the records that you actually need. Now, there are some agencies, let me see. If I go to Department of Agriculture maybe, and then Division of Conservation. Yes, so a lot of the government agencies have in their description these administrative histories. Now these give you a better idea of what the responsibilities of the agency are and how they've changed over time. Now, state agencies, they change a lot. Almost every time a new governor comes into office, they mix things up at least a little bit, change the name of something, or combine offices, move offices from one department to another. And sometimes if you're trying to track records for that agency, that makes it really tricky. So the administrative histories are meant to try and help you sort of sort that out, and help me sort that out as well when I'm processing. I think I know more about the administrative history of different state government agencies than just about anyone, and I'm not sure that I needed to know as much as I know. But there's definitely a lot of information that you can find here, and hopefully it'll help you sort things out in your research. Now I'm going to pause for a second here and move over and see if there are any questions that have come in. It looks if you have questions, again, feel free to add them into the comments. I will certainly try to answer them. If you have anything specific that you want, like specific questions about how to use the ArchivesSpace or how you might go about searching for a particular topic, let me know. I will be happy to answer those. But yes. So, if you go to the top level of the record group, so Department of Agriculture, there are a couple options available to you. You can certainly, if you're having trouble navigating the website and you would just want something paper that you can hold in your hand and search through or look through, you can download a PDF of it's a listing of all of the records in the record group. All you have to do is click here on this print button, and it generates a PDF that I'll just do this here for, well, normally it works just fine. Like earlier today, it worked just fine. But, well, anyway, normally it will download or generate an Adobe PDF for you that then you can take and, print out or highlight or whatever you need to help with your research. So, okay, let's see. So if you're having trouble and you can't find what you're looking for, again, just know that not everything is in ArchivesSpace. A lot of our stuff is, but not everything. So feel free to send us an email, give us a call. We can walk you through how to use the site. We can search through our in-house databases to try and find things for you. We are definitely here to help. So. Okay. me see. Is there something else I can show you here in ArchivesSpace? Oh, the classifications. So the classification section, if it's just basically another way where we kind of group together collections of like materials. So if you were interested in looking at all of the county government records that we have, you could click this and it would show all of the record groups that we have for different counties. Manuscript collections, this gathers together all of the manuscript collections. So if you again if you can't remember which is which up here, this is another way to get the same information. Um, Municipal government, yeah, so any of the city governments that we have, you can see their records here, and state government as well. Let's see. All right. Well, once again, I have boogied through my prepared content so quickly that I've got a bunch of extra time here. So, really, if there are any questions at all, I would be happy to answer them. So, one of the things that you can do, so by default, the search here is just a keyword search, but you can search specifically the titles or creators or for subject headings. If you want to, you can narrow down the date range, which is really helpful for materials. Um, so yeah, there are definitely ways to do that. And I would not, let me do another search here. Do fishing, just for giggles. So these ways that you can filter over here are so useful when you're looking for specific information or if you end up with a ton of results. In this case, 68 really isn't too bad, but if I wanted to narrow it down even more and talk about specifically Black Hills fishing, I could do Black Hills. Um, I could say from 1910 to 1950, do a search. And now I've got, just a lot fewer results to look through here, including some publicity photos from the Department of Tourism, which makes perfect sense when you're talking Black Hills fishing. You can also click the subject headings and see anything that has that heading in the archives. In this case, we're using it as a filter, so it's just filtering already with Black Hills fishing and Badlands. But you can use it, just sort of search through all of the subjects here. We go. So if we want to see what we have on the Adams house, we can click that and see that there are two collections related to that, or two mentions of it in ArchivesSpace. Ah, yes. So we've got a couple questions here. So what is the Digital Objects tab for? Yes, so the Digital Objects tab, again, these are digital records that we manage in the archives. So they're records that we are preserving in digital format. You can find sort of more detailed information about them specifically here. What you what they are not is a link to the records themselves online. These records are only available in our research room. And the information that you need to access those is this identifier number here. Again, that's all of our digital collections in the research room. Um, they're arranged by this identifier number. So if you know what that is, you can go right into the records that you want to look at and view them on our computers there in the lab. So what does how does ArchivesSpace work differently than Content DM? Again, Content DM is it's the digital archive, so it's actual documents and photos and letters and things that you can search and discover online and view the actual content. Here, this is mostly ArchivesSpace is more of a catalog. It's a resource that you can use to figure out what we've got back in our storage at the archives, but it's not the actual item themselves. You can't. So, for instance, these Capitol Centennial time capsule photos, you can't view those online. They are available only in the research room. So, whereas with the digital archives, or with Content DM and the digital archives, things are available online. So sometimes they're both very useful, but they have different purposes. So it's yeah. So the good questions, good questions. Yes. So I'll wait maybe just another minute or two and see if there are any other questions that trickle in. Um, as always, like I said, you can email us. In fact, maybe what I'll do is I'll go to the archives main page. If you click this About the Archive section and expand staff, you can see all of our email addresses and phone numbers, and you can definitely contact any of us, and we would be happy to help you find records that you're looking for. So definitely. I will say that this is probably the last office hours that you will see from my living room. um, the archive staff are starting to sort of trickle in and work. We're phasing into working full time again at the Cultural Heritage Center, which we are very excited about. And that's sort of like the initial step before we can open to the public. Right now, we're tentatively planning for July, as I said before, um, to open to the public, but we'll definitely have more information on what that will look like and how that will all happen in future office hours. And we'll post it everywhere. It'll be on our website, it'll be on our social media, and we'll definitely talk about it during office hours. So okay. Well, I guess if there are no questions right now, that's fine. You all have lots of thinking to do, and I've presented a lot of information here. So, again, like if you have any questions, email us, contact us. We would love to talk with you. And in the meantime, I hope you all stay safe and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.